Hi, I'm Bernadette McCreadie. I'm the campaign manager for Medicinal Cannabis Reform Scotland.
Hi, I'm Lynn Cameron. I'm a terminal brain cancer survivor and campaign assistant manager for Medicinal Cannabis Reform Scotland.
Join us on Monday the 14th of May at 9pm, where alongside Rick Simpson we will be speaking to Barbara and Patty on peopleforpeople.ning.com and People for People Radio.
And welcome everybody. Let me turn that sound down just a little bit. Volume. Okay. Hoping you're hearing me really well. Today we have a wonderful show, and I'm sure a lot of you have been looking forward to it. We have Lynn, Cameron, and Bernadette with us today, and we've had them on before. Those of you who have been here and been able to listen to the previous broadcast, I hope you're as excited as we are. And I just, I got to say this. I just got to look at Lynn, and she looks beautiful. She's awesomeness. So it's really exciting. And we've got Luca with us. We've got Barb here, and she is going to read us a little synopsis so that we can get a heads up for those of you who, like Troy there, and Adrius, who wasn't here before. So you guys can have a little catch-up on what we will be discussing today and why Lynn and Bernadette are here. And it's just going to be a fun show because these two ladies will keep you laughing. They just make the world go around for me. Just saying. But anyway, Barb, go ahead if you want, and we can read out that synopsis and get started because I'm excited.
I know, yes. Hey, everybody out there in People for People world and the world in general. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited. We've been waiting for Lynn and Bernie to catch up with them, and so this is a little bit of a synopsis about Lynn Cameron and what's been going on with her, and Bernie has her own stories, and I know Luca has some also good information on what we're going to be talking about today. So in Lynn's words, she said, I had a scan on December 10th at Harmeris Hospital, and it showed a mass, and I was taken straight into Southern General at that point. I was operated on December 16th, and on December 27th, I was told that I had stage 4 terminal brain cancer. So I underwent the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy combined, but was told even then I would live 6 to 18 months at best. A good friend suggested cannabis, but I was too scared because it's illegal here. I also found it hard to believe that it would cure brain cancer this advanced. But as the scans were showing there was no change to the mass, I eventually thought, I'm going to break the mold here. I'm going to try it. Lynn began desperately researching alternative medicines and diets in a desperate attempt to win her battle with cancer. I researched more and more into natural cancer killers and decided to follow an alkaline diet and cut out processed foods altogether. I also cut out sugar completely. I started taking cannabis oil under my tongue as it gets straight into the bloodstream that way. Each scan I received after that was showing an improvement. I had been told that chemotherapy and radiotherapy doesn't make much difference, so I knew it must be the cannabis doing it. By the 6th MRI, the cancer was gone. Lynn had kept her use of cannabis oil from the doctors, but challenged them on the use of this drug after receiving the all-clear message. The doctors treating me didn't know about the cannabis oil until I got the results. I challenged them on it, but they dismissed it. They weren't taught about cannabis at medical school, more for a political reason than medicals, I believe. They told me, eat whatever you like, take all the vitamins you want. It won't work. But these were the people who told me my cancer was incurable, and now it was gone. The British Medical Journal hasn't probably investigated cannabis. The irony was they were giving me morphine and codeine in the wards. Prior to becoming ill, I had never taken a pill before in my life. And that's Lynn's words right there. Pretty stunning, pretty awesome.
Yeah, and you've got to think that on the initial diagnosis, I mean the fear that enters in, and then the prognosis that you only have a few months to live, or and then to be able to have to fight a system, which is what you guys have been doing. You had to actually fight the system in order to create a cure for yourself. It's just it's amazing, and you've done a great work, not only for yourselves, but you have gone on to open up this venue of healing for everyone else. And that's what we're here about today. We're going to listen and we're going to hear the good news from both of these beautiful ladies. And so, Lynn, let's go with you first. And how are you doing now? Let us know.
Well, I'm doing, health-wise, I'm doing really well. I go for my next MRI in August. So it's 6 monthly scans that I get just now. But other than that, then the long-term side effects of chemo and radiotherapy, I'm quite healthy. But obviously that has its, as I say, its side effects, which has affected memory, balance. See, that's a short-term memory kicking in here. I can't think. But in general, I'm
struggling with your balance right now.
I'm okay. If I stand for too long, then that's when it can affect my balance.
Okay, and that's due to the residual of the tumor, or?
Well, more so the radiotherapy.
The radiotherapy.
Yeah. As I
and
say,
can it be corrected? Will it correct itself in time?
Well, that I don't know until, as time goes on, I'll find out. Mm-hmm. But they say that the effects can be in your system for up to 10 years. And everybody's an individual, we're all different. So I could be less than that, or I could be more than that. I really don't know. But I'm doing everything that I can do to make myself better. I.e. with the cannabis, diet, the vitamins and supplements that I take as well, so I'll try everything that I can that's non-toxic. That's it, really.
So the end result, though, that you're looking at right now at this moment is you are cancer-free.
Yes, I've had no sign of disease now for, let me think, that's over 3.5 years now.
And what do the doctors have to say?
Well, that's the thing, they really don't say much about it. They don't say, and they don't want to know. Really, they don't ask questions like, well, what form do you take the cannabis? How is it ingested? Is it smoked? Is it vaped? I tell them these things, but you can see it's going in one ear and out the other.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah. I think it's sorry.
Go. I don't want to talk over you. You go ahead.
You would think, though, being in the medical profession, they'd be doing cartwheels that patients are getting better. But sadly, as the way it goes, doctors and nurses are frightened to make any comment whatsoever. They don't mind making a negative comment, which I really don't think they're entitled to do when they know nothing about it. But that's a big part of, the work that we've been doing. Bernie will go into all that. It's really Bernie who's been doing all the work. She's the mastermind. But to educate, we need to educate our doctors, our nurses, teachers, the workforce in general, because people need this medicine and they're frightened to take their medicine in case they lose their job. It's unbelievable.
It really is when you think about the fact that they could be capitalizing on this therapy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The medical establishment could incorporate these treatments for, what is more important to them, the political aspect or the healing of the people. And, they're in between a juxtaposition because they're not calling the shots. Their superiors tell them what's acceptable and what's not, I would assume.
Yes.
And so they are kind of stuck. But somewhere there's got to be pushback. Somewhere someone has to be like you and Bernie and stand up and say, now let's look at the reality and the truth and stop this. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I wish people would do it. I always say to people who are taking it, as medicine, inform your doctor, your nurse. The more it's documented, they cannot ignore this any longer. They can't. If the documentation is there, then it's every reason for these people, medical people, to fight for us as well. But the way it is,
There's confusion.
I was going to say,
confusion, in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between hemp oil and CBD oil for the people in the chat?
well, that's where Bernie's good at that. She's really good at explaining things like that. I would pass that on to Bernie.
Okay, well, before you go to Bernie, we'll get to that a little bit later. For the people in the chat. But right now, let's talk about your diet and the things that you are doing right now that have made a difference along with the hemp oil. Yeah.
Well, it's obviously cutting out processed foods, which I was never a big one for, processed food anyway, and processed sugars. Now, that doesn't include fruits. You need your fruits, you need all your greens. And I always remember I watched a docu-series called, I think I actually touched on this the last time, ladies, The Truth About Cancer, a global quest. And it was a Dr. Josh Axe, an American guy, who he says you should eat the colours of the rainbow. And how true that is. You should eat the colours of the rainbow. Because they say for every illness in this that humans and animals suffer, there's a plant or a seed on this planet that can solve that issue. And luckily enough, I got that very great plant that solved that issue for me and still continues to do it. But it's really just everything in moderation, I would say, but initially when you're diagnosed with cancer, you really need to be quite disciplined. And it's difficult because you're dealt a really hard blow and being told that you get 6 to 18 months to live. I don't know why I never fell apart. I didn't. I think it made me more determined, to be honest. But there's so many issues, there's so many factors to fight this disease that you need. And I always say to people as well, I know that people feel it's at the darkest point of their life, but they need to try and be as positive as possible. And I can say that because I did it myself. I did try and be positive, and you can ask any member of my family, my friends, and they all say to me, "You're so brave." It's not brave. I just want to survive. That's basically the bottom line.
I think that, when I'm hearing you speaking, It reminds me of it is a fight for your life, but you have to have the will to want to live.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to have that inside of you, that will to live. You know, it is that battle, but it's something deeper. I think you know, people go through the battle. I guess many people go through the battle under the medical profession. You know, of course, they're battling it too, but they're also being assaulted and attacked, their immune systems, by the medical system, the way they go about this. You know, and these people, you know, it's not that those people certainly they all want to live. You know, to make a choice, like you said when what I was reading. You were afraid, you know, and to make that choice to go to an alternative is that's pretty brave. It's pretty powerful too. But there wasn't much hope on the other end, right?
That's it. Yeah.
You know, and to this thing that doctors have where they tell people how long you have to live really gets me.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is a death sentence. I was reading this. I was listening to this scientist who was talking about our bodies, our trillions and trillions of cells within our body have an intelligence, and they all function according to, of course, our what our mind is focused on, what we believe in. You know, if you believe a doctor that tells you you have 6 months to live, and you believe that, well, your cells are going to go into alarm, and you know your immune system starts to break down. It's almost like it is a death sentence, literally.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. But I think I explained before, the oncologist that I dealt with, his bedside manner was a lot to be desired. First of all, he couldn't look you straight in the eye when he was speaking to you. So when you're speaking to a medical professional, you need their undivided attention. At least let the patient think that you're interested in them, you know, in their welfare. But this man just did not come across that way. So, as I say, I ended up, I requested that I no longer see him. And I didn't mind seeing another member of the team. He was the one that dismissed cannabis and all the different things that he dismissed. And that's where I think it's so wrong. They should be honest with patients and say to them, look, I don't know enough about it to answer a question like that. But
that takes a lot for a professional to say, well, I'm not so professional, or I don't know too much about it. I mean, I think there's ego, unfortunately, a lot of ego coming into play here when it comes to these professionals, you know.
Yeah.
I've heard many stories where people have cured themselves, not in the way you did, but with alternatives, and their doctors had nothing to say.
Well, I mean, he was the same. He was the same. He was the very man that gave me the good news. And I did say to him, but you told me this was incurable. Oh, well, you're obviously in the minority, he says. I says, really? Of a GBM? A minority? But...
Yeah, you're a minority because you're one of the few that use the protocols of the hemp oil and diet.
Yeah, definitely.
So why don't you share how you got, well, that would be Lynn, how you chose to go in this direction, or with this, with the sacred, see, I call this the sacred plant medicine.
Yeah.
And I just read this article where scientists discovered this plant in the Andes that existed 40 million years ago.
Yeah.
Think of that. I mean, if you think, well, I have said, and other people, indigenous people, believe that Creator created every medicine that we would ever need.
That's it.
Everything has already been here on this Mother Earth, all medicines that we needed.
That's it, yeah. Definitely, It's, as I say, for every illness there's a plant or there's a seed.
That's correct.
Base that can help, in so many ways.
So this is through Rick Simpson's methods, his studies?
I went on his guidelines for dosing, but as I say, it was a good friend of mine's he was the one who had told me about cannabis, and I had said to him, I says, look, no, I don't smoke it, and he says, no, it's not to smoke, you need to ingest it. And he saved my life. He saved my life. But I'll give you a funny wee story here regarding that. This guy was a boy that I went through high school with. In fact, he was my first boyfriend. And we actually split because he smoked cannabis.
That's
and then all these years later, he saved my life. He saved my life. I won't name his name. But yes.
Well, that's really a beautiful story, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is. Funny and beautiful.
Yeah.
What about the support of your family and stuff? Did you have that? This?
I did. I had it with both my parents, my brother, and my two sisters. But one of my brothers, he didn't support it. He thought it was basically terrible, that I was breaking the law, and I'd rather not talk about that. But
well,
certainly
hopefully he sees now that it was well worth what you did.
Yeah, well, hopefully it does, but we'll find out. We'll find out.
So now, what are your plans for the future when it comes to? You said you had another visit to the doctor coming in August.
August, yeah.
Will this be periodic visits over the years, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so it was every 3 months that I was getting MRIs done, but now it's every 6 months. So, and I don't know when they stopped doing that. So I believe they'll do this for another couple of years, I would imagine. I'm not too sure.
And how's your mental outlook on this? Are you at ease now? Are you in a place of empowerment with this, that you have control?
Yes and no, because it's always there at the back of your mind that this could come back any time. More so when it comes back with any cancer, no matter what part of the body it is. But it's quite common for a recurrence. In fact, a good friend of mine's, he was diagnosed, in fact, the day that I got my good results. He started doing cannabis and vaping it, I believe, and a ketogenic diet. But sadly, he got a recurrence about 4 weeks ago. So when I was talking to him, he says, no, I'm going to be more disciplined in how I deal with this time. I think, you know how it is. We're human beings at the end of the day, and we can all slip back into normality. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that happened or what, I'm not too sure. I didn't want to press too many questions to him. I just wanted to let him know that I was there for him. Because that's the one good thing that's come out of all this is, alright, I get dealt a really tough blow, but I think going through all that, helping, enabling other people to help themselves, for me, is a great achievement.
Right, and Lynn, it's not an easy road, is it? I mean, it's like you talk about the discipline, but it's an intense discipline because you're not only dealing with a dietary side of the physical aspects of this, but you're also dealing with the mental and emotional aspects of this. And that discipline that is required to keep up with this must be just massive, and enormous, taking up your day. I mean, that must be the first thing in your mind and the last thought as you go to sleep.
Yeah. I wake up every morning and I think, oh, yes, I've woke up another day, which I'm always so grateful of. Excuse me. And I've got a cold just now.
Well, what do you do as far as keeping yourself in that place of I think that if I would have gotten the results that you have gotten, and I would have walked out of that medical establishment with knowing that I had done this, that I had cured myself, I would be in such joy.
Oh yeah. If I could have done cartwheels, I would have. But sadly, physically, I'm not able to do that. But no, it does. It brings me great joy knowing that I've did this without their help.
And actually against fighting them.
Yeah. But hopefully one day in Scotland, it will be the first choice for treatment regarding so many illnesses, not just cancer, but so many. That this plant can help. Not just this plant, there's so many. I mean, the common dandelion, which grows wild everywhere, that's another great cancer killer.
Yes.
The roots of the dandelion. There's so many things that you could take, and like that I always say to people, when I tell them my protocol, what I did, and I'll always say, research everything and blast that with everything that you can blast it with naturally, and continue to do it. So that's it.
I think your frame of mind, how you talk to your body, is a key part of this. For all of us, even if we're not diagnosed with something, a disease or something, but for our health and well-being in general, I think this the awareness is becoming more and more known that we are body, mind, and spirit. It's not just this disease. And just the words dis-ease is something to even consider. But the way we, I guess the way we have conversations with ourselves, again, it's like the body is always listening to, feeling and sensing and listening to our words, plus our emotions and everything about us. The body is, one with that and responds accordingly. So I think our attitude and the way we speak to ourselves or about ourselves is a really key piece, part of it too. Part of the whole healing factor, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think the mental does have an effect on the physical.
Yep.
So, and then it manifests itself in so many different ways through disease. Illnesses, so yeah, it's definitely it's been like a spiritual journey as well.
Yeah. I read this article where this fella, this was quite a few years ago, but he was diagnosed with cancer, and he went into got a hotel room and got a whole bunch of videos and sat there for weeks, pretty much had food brought in and well, I guess he could afford this, and he sat there watching comedies, old comedy shows and comedy movies, and sat there laughing his head off, and he said he healed himself just with laughter. I mean, laughter is healing, that's for sure.
That's it.
I know you ladies laugh a lot.
We do. We do.
Yeah, I guess.
Luca
Yeah.
has something he wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, I'm just glad to be a part of the conversation. I'm really glad to talk to both of you again.
Yeah, you too, Luca.
I've taken cannabis oil myself more than 2 years. And exactly the same thing happened to me. It just disappeared. I'm completely cancer-free now. And what I'm doing is I'm switching over to a tea tree for toothpaste. I'm switching over to something called Essiac tea, which is, as the grandmothers know, it's a combination of four different roots, and that's cancer prevention. That is powerful stuff. Yeah. There's a couple of things in the chat made me think of something important. I am healthy.
Yes.
Versus I am sick. I literally saw that in person. This was my ex's sister-in-law. Good Lord. She would be in her nightgown at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She would have the drapes closed. She would be sick all the time. She keeps saying she's sick all the time. She got viruses that nobody heard of before, okay? She's always been sick. If you train yourself and you tell yourself you're going to heal, no, you are healing. And also you ingest leaves of cannabis if you're fortunate enough to have them, because then hemp becomes a part of your diet, and then you find out that hemp was always a part of our diet before, because before 1930s or so it was in the food chain and everybody had it, and the animals ate it and we ate it. So what do you want to do when you want to sicken the population? You get them Rockefeller medicine, you get people like Anslinger, and you invent the tobacco and firearms company, or a part of the government, and this guy Harry Anslinger invents all kinds of propaganda against it. They make it illegal. This is the whole thing. If a doctor would give you herbs, and then you take the herbs, you don't see the doctor anymore.
That's it.
So what do? They keep you sick. They give you the pill to take. They see you once every 3 months. That's how they make their money. If you get cleared of it, it's not useful to them. So I really did a lot of research on the prohibition with Anslinger and on Rockefeller poisons, and that's all I'm hearing you guys talk about. It's amazing, you know. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is we're very inquisitive people. We don't trust anything. We question everything. That's a doctor's worst enemy, because he doesn't. The only thing he knows is what the doctors taught him, or what the Rockefeller medicine profession taught him, and he has his notepad right next to him to make a prescription. So you can't talk to him about health, because he doesn't know anything. You can't talk to him about nutrition, because they don't study nutrition. In medical school. So it's you're going against, you're being a problem, you know. What do you mean you're healed? That's what the doctor told me on my last MRI. And then you find out that MRIs and mammograms even cause cancer. Okay, there's proof of that now. You know, it's on and on and on. And then you find out that all of that is called allopathy medicine. And then you find out what homeopathic medicine was before. And it's a fascinating journey for me, and I'm healing while I'm researching, so it's really awesome. I'm on Essiac tea now, and I found the cannabis oil, which I'd like to mention, very important. If you don't know your source, don't buy it, because they're trying to either make you sick or kill you with the stuff that's coming from government, or that government are legalizing, or that they say that you can get through a prescription, you know. Then you find out, once you have that prescription, you have to surrender your firearms, because you can't have a firearm if you're, you know. So just caution everywhere is what I'm suggesting. Thank you for letting me speak. I love you guys, and it's good to be back.
And congratulations to you, Luca.
Oh, it's a state of mind. You know,
Of
and
course.
one of the grandmothers said that earlier. It's your state of mind that I really applaud, because if you, there are two kinds of people. There are the people that go to the doctor because it's the doctor that's God. He says everything and he's right. You got 6 months to live. Okay, I'm dead in 6 months. Okay, and you got the other people that are like, no, there's got to be something natural, and that's the first thing that I got in touch with somebody in Australia for my cannabis oil the first time. Very powerful stuff. Putting it under the tongue every night. You can't feel a difference because it works very slowly, and it balances your system from the inside out. It takes the lightest problems that you have and works them out, and gradually balances your body. So,
Well,
Did
Luca,
we lose Luca?
where'd he go?
I can really feel a difference now. More energy. I'm also smoking marijuana for back pain because that's the only thing that works.
Yeah.
I will stay away from the oxycodone 30s that they're allowing me to have, which will kill somebody.
Yeah. Nice opioids. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, you smoke it and it takes the pain down at least 40%. So it's your state of mind, really. And I applaud you for your work and for your health. I really do.
Thank you.
Lynn, you used the Rick's formula, didn't you? Rick Simpson's formula for the hemp oil.
For the cannabis, the fully extracted cannabis oil. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So every compound in the plant, I take.
Yes, yes. That's type. That's the way that the it used to be. We used to have no qualms whatsoever about going out into nature and finding those things that we needed to feed our bodies. But again, we used to eat a diet that was balanced and nutrient rich, which we don't do that anymore. And the body's organic. It's made to work with organics. So it would stand to reason that anyone who was interested in healing, including physicians, would have this idea of how the body can heal through nutrition, but instead they seem to just back off from it, and it's really a shame. And we've got 37 minutes. In the second hour, I want to get Bernadette on and see if we can talk about the proactive things that you guys have done and she has done to open up the people to the use of the cannabis oil and the fights that she's been through. But for right now, Lynn, if you could talk us through maybe a daily regimen, the vitamins, the minerals, the diet. I know you talked about you cut sugar out, but how important it was to have the sugars that are in your fruits and vegetables, and that is true. Yes.
Very. As I say, the protocol that I cover is for an anti-inflammatory. I take a combination of ground root turmeric, black pepper oil and coconut oil, and I mix it into a paste. And my preferred way of taking it is I smear it over sliced tomatoes, then I grill them, and I have that on a slice of toast as my breakfast in the morning. So it's a medicinal breakfast in the morning. But I would wait about an hour. You know, if I was going to take the cannabis oil through the day, which I don't do now, I only take a maintenance dose in the evenings. But when I was going through the full protocol, I would wait an hour before I would take my cannabis oil. So I would then take the cannabis oil under the tongue, and I would then take vitamin C, high dose vitamin C capsules, boswellia resin, which The frankincense comes from that tree, the boswellia tree. So I would take 2 capsules of the boswellia resin. Magnesium citrate, I would take 1 of them a day. You can get that in tablet form or liquid form, but I always took tablet form. Resveratrol, I take 1 of them as well. And that's in grapes, and it's a great cancer fighter as well. And last but not least, I think, frankincense oil. Now, like cannabis oil, here in the UK, frankincense oil is illegal to take orally. But where I source it from, it's ethically sourced and it's organic. So it's safe enough to take. And I would take 2 to 4 drops on top of my tongue every 2 hours up to 5 times a day. And I came across that, for example, and all other vitamins and supplements in The Truth About Cancer, a Global Quest documentary, which, as I say, was very, very informative, because it covered, there was 9 episodes and it covered so many different, each episode, whether it covered diet, vitamin supplements, other treatments as well. So yeah, that was all part of it. Drinking plenty of water, bottled water. But then the water in Scotland is quite good water. Hopefully for a long time. I think that's it really. Of course my mind goes blank when I'm trying to think of everything.
So, have you cut meat out of your diet, or do you still have
No, I try and get organic meat where I can. It's quite difficult to get organic, and it's so expensive as well. And we've got to believe what we read. If it is organic or not, you don't know that. You don't know that.
So, how many people have you come across in, say, your daily life that have, and I know that all of us can point to a relative or a friend or an acquaintance, neighbor, that is ill, and how many of them have been open to the prospect? Have you talked with them about the cannabis oil?
Yeah. Obviously, people who in my local area, I've done many public speeches regarding it, but there's been people from all over the world have contacted me because they've came across my story and can I help them? Yeah. So like that, the only thing that I can do is tell them what I've done. But I always say, please, you do as much research as possible. If you're not able to do it, get a family member to do it for you, or a friend. Because knowledge is power. You know, if you have that knowledge, if you look into everything enough, you arm yourself with great medicine.
That's so true.
Well, you know...
Oh, go ahead, sis.
All right, I was just going to say, because I think a lot of us know the story of the 3 wise men bringing the frankincense and myrrh. What was the other one?
Gold.
Yeah, frankincense, myrrh, and gold. And there's an article I just popped into the chat. It's called A Wise Man's Cure, Frankincense and Myrrh.
Yeah.
This was once considered priceless. The ancient remedies, frankincense and myrrh, are drawing new attention from medical researchers. Well, where is it?
Exactly.
Well, they're taking years and years of study, that's what they do, and getting lots of money funding for their studies, but when will it be out there for the people? It's there's a whole list here on this in this link I popped up. It's basically frankincense known as olibanum. Is that what you said? Olibanum and myrrh have been traded in the Middle East and North Africa for up to 5,000 years.
Thousands of years, yes.
Yeah, 5,000 years, and they were components of the holy incense ritually burned in Jerusalem's sacred temples. They used it for scents, like smoke. We call smoking. You let the smoke go into the air, and very healing also. But I found it interesting that this is so ancient, and it was one of the sacred things that was brought by the 3 wise men.
Yeah. They were very wise men.
They were.
As the story goes, that the 3 wise men brought these gifts to baby Jesus. They weren't gifts. They were medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were medicine. And the gold, I believe, was turmeric or curcumin.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I was just wondering. Yeah. You think it was turmeric?
Could be, yeah.
Although gold was known in ancient cultures to be have healing properties, but
not immune stimulant.
An immune stimulant? Okay, because I've not really have studied that much, but
it's the same with silver. Silver too is the same, yeah.
Yeah, colloidal silver is. We have used that here in our household very successfully. Colloidal silver.
Well, I think Luca needs to step away for the second hour and would like to tell you ladies a parting for you. So we're going to let Luca come on, and thank you, Luca, for joining us. And we love you, brother.
I love you too, and it's an honor to be here, and I can't stress that enough about your personal mindset, your personal mindset being the most important thing. Just a couple of wink type of stories. I had a really serious problem with my prostate, and there were complications, and now everything's fine. But I'm getting blood in the urine a little bit every now and then, and the healer friend of mine looked at me and he said, "Parsley, 88 cents. Go out and buy it. And get cranberry juice as well." Came home, mixed the two, chomped on it like a rabbit. 2 hours later, it was gone. Yeah. That quick.
Yeah.
I heard you say turmeric and pepper.
Yeah, black pepper. Yeah.
Turmeric and black pepper served for the loose tooth that I had. It's so loose that it feels like you can pull it out, but you can't because the roots are still attached. Turmeric and pepper kills all the bacteria all the way down and cleans everything out. And then we follow that with a trip in the woods and get some oak bark and make a tea out of that, and that's going to tighten the tooth inside the jaw again. Can you believe it? This is the stuff that it's out in the yard. It's I smiled too when you said dandelions, because that's what I did. I made my dandelion tea every time I see them. So it's great to see you, and I'm glad it's a validation for me that I'm doing everything well. And I just want to say that I love you guys, and I'm really in a congratulative mood to all of you. So it's
Thank you,
to be on the show again.
Yes, I love your listening to your story too, Luca. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And look up Harry Anslinger.
Oh, I know all about him.
Unbelievable. And that's what they do. If something is legal, we'll keep it for ourselves, because that's what the Rockefellers did when they introduced the petrochemicals. They kept all the hemp and all that stuff and all the good stuff for themselves. That's what they're doing now. That's what this whole.
And let's not forget President Nixon. He was the very man who declared the war on drugs.
There you go.
In the early 70s.
So who started the drug war in the United States? That's okay, bye guys.
Bye,
yeah, to me, what they're saying is the war on drugs, but it is a war on natural medicines. That's really what it is. So the people, when they hear, they have a war on drugs, that's good. That's a good thing, all these drugs, So, Gaz put a note in here for you. He says that the water in Scotland is full of heavy metals, and suggests you guys get a distiller. Yeah, there's chlorine, there's fluoride, there's heavy metals, there's all kinds of stuff in the water. Yeah. Do you have? Do you do that?
No.
Well, there you go.
I will now.
We will now.
Yes.
Yeah, look up. I think Patty has one too. We have a water system, a water purifier system. Although we have a well, it's still important to do that. We don't have city water. We have our own water on this mountain, and we still have one because there are things in the air as well. And do a little research because there are many different types. And I guess Gaz is putting a suggestion in here, but there are many different types of water filters, and you want to make sure that he says there's no fluoride in Scott's water though. Wow, you got away with that. I don't know, the whole world has fluoride in their water, but
we don't have it here in Wellington.
In the city water.
Yeah, but we do have minerals, heavy metals and stuff, because in my distiller, when you look in the bottom of the chamber where you pour the water to be distilled, it's pretty yucky when you go to clean it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you guys?
What?
Where exactly where do you guys live again?
We live on the Mother Earth.
Good answer.
Yay! I think we're living on the Mother Earth. For all I know, I could be on another star planet up there. Why? Yeah. Well, where we live, we call it Turtle Island. It's this whole continent of the United States. But Patty and I don't live near each other, unfortunately. I wish we did.
You're in different states, yeah?
Yeah, we're in different...
I'm in Kansas, right in the smack dab middle.
Right.
United States.
She's in the Lizard of Oz country.
Lizard of Oz.
And I'm in upstate New York, about 100 miles north of Manhattan, New York City. I live in the country too. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely. Yeah, but do some research because you want to get one specifically will take care of certain things that are in the water, not good to ingest,
Yes, yeah.
We have a lot of problems here in this country. They're finding, because the infrastructure is so old and the pipes leading throughout the whole cities and towns and into houses were lead pipes. Mm-hmm. So you have this leaching of lead into the water that is a big problem, affecting a lot of... Yeah.
So, ladies, we're coming up to the top of the hour, and Lynn, if there's anything that you wanted to add that you didn't get to add before we bring in Bernadette, because I know once you two are turned loose, that's it,
Never. You know us too well. No, I can't think of anything. No, as I say, my short-term memory is not very good, so there probably is things in my head that I want to say, but I'm sure her Bernie, she'll remember a lot of things that's in my head. She's better at explaining things than I am, that's for sure.
Okay, well, we'll bring Bernie in now, and for those of you who are not familiar, Bernie's been with us, and she has put herself in the firing line. She has stood up against the system more than one time.
Yeah.
She has made inroads, yes. She's done some brilliant and wonderful things. So let's bring her in, and Bernie, tell us what's going on with you, what you've been able to get accomplished, and where you're going from here.
Hi guys, how you doing?
We're doing awesome.
Good. I'm trying to think when the last time we spoke. Was it last? I think it was last October. Was it the last time we spoke?
Wow.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Long
You
time.
had, you had just gone to a council meeting or a city council or something.
Yeah.
Well, there was the meeting in September. We had a meeting in Parliament in September because the first two meetings that we had set up, we had set up the medicinal cannabis multi-stakeholder group. And basically it's just a group of cross-party MSPs. We tried to get the police involved, and we've been trying to get the government involved, quite unsuccessfully. But then we had a meeting arranged in September. Last year we did have them threatened with legal action. As you know, we had already discussed that with you, that we had a lawyer and a QC on board ready to take action against them if they weren't going to move themselves and get involved and help us. But lo and behold, they did start getting involved, and they started playing ball, and they started making all the right noises. They gave us a civil servant to specifically deal with us, a man called Morris, and Morris was absolutely fantastic. Really interested, very willing to help, always on hand, responded to you immediately, didn't have to wait the 4 weeks, 5 weeks that you have to wait from a government minister just to answer a simple question. So Morris was absolutely fantastic. So we put the lawyers, the QC off retainer. We didn't need them anymore. We set up the next meeting in Holyrood. But just before the next meeting in Holyrood, a wee birdie told us that there was spare money floating about up in the Scottish Parliament looking for a home. So at the time, there was a lot of sick kids looking for medicine, and the UK government had set up what they called an expert panel to decide on what kids got the medicine and what didn't. And it was barbaric. It was absolutely barbaric. These people that were on this panel didn't have a clue what they were doing. There was no kids getting the medicine. The medicine wasn't getting to anybody. The children and their families were still having to go abroad, become medical refugees abroad, and then smuggle it back into the country illegally. Some of them were getting the medicine took off them. So really nothing was... So we come up with a suggestion for Scotland to have our own expert panel, but not just to oversee the medicinal side of cannabis. This would be an expert panel that would oversee everything cannabis, because it's a substance, it's a plant that has 10,000 uses. So not just for medicine, but for textiles. We could totally end our dependency on fossil fuels, clothing, animal feeds, material, everything. So we decided that the best way forward for Scotland would be an independent expert panel, nothing that the government would be setting up, because obviously you can't rely on them to be independent. So that was all agreed. At this meeting, not only was the Scottish Government have representation there, but also the Police Scotland had representation there as well. So this was agreed by everybody at the meeting that it was going to be the best way forward. So that was in September. Then in November, the UK Government rescheduled cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. And everybody thought, well, we weren't very impressed that it went from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. Schedule 2 means that it was still very much in their control, and it was being drip-fed to us at their leisure. But when they moved it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, it came with a lot of really, really strict guidelines that doctors were put under severe pressure to follow. But you have kids in this country that are desperate for this medicine, and there's two wee boys in this country, Cole and Murray, and their parents have had to go to some lengths to get them this medicine. And they go to abroad, they bring the medicine back, their kids are on this medicine, and they risk prosecution every day. But when they moved this from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, it should have made it easier for the parents to get hold of this medicine for their children, but it actually made it more difficult because of the strict guidelines that came from NHS England, from the UK Government, from the British Paediatric Neurology Association. These guidelines were telling doctors that the cannabis-derived medicines had only to be used as a very last resort. They were basically telling the doctors not to even touch it with somebody else's hands. They were putting the fear of God into them, telling them that their insurance companies might not support it, might not cover them, that the health boards might not support it, might see it in a different light. We were even hearing stories that physicians were being told that they would be shunned from the medical profession in disgrace, they would lose their jobs. So it came with all these guidelines. Scotland have fully devolved health. Although we don't have drug policy control devolved to Holyrood in line with health, we do have fully devolved health, which means that Scotland fully control our own National Health Service. The minute that they rescheduled it, the minute that the UK government rescheduled cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, that was us essentially getting permission. That was them giving us their permission to prescribe it. It came with all the guidelines, but they are only guidelines. They're not set in stone, they're not rules, they're not regulations, and they're not laws. It's just guidelines for doctors to adhere to, but it doesn't mean that they have to adhere to it. They can use their common sense sometimes, although most of them don't. So they were sticking to the guidelines. But because we have fully devolved health, we also have fully devolved pharmaceutical services here. We also have our own Scottish Medicines Consortium that authorises medicines to be prescribed through National Health Service. And we also have what's called the Scottish Intercollegiate Guidance Network. And they help write guidelines for NHS Scotland. So there is absolutely no reason for the Scottish Government to be carrying on with this farce of following the guidelines that are coming out from Westminster or out from the NHS England when we have the facilities here in Scotland to do it. So that was the approach that we started using. We had kind of found a wee loophole, if you like, because the response that we were getting from the Scottish Government is we can't do anything about it. Although it's been rescheduled, we have to follow these guidelines, we have to stick to this. But then we kind of discovered this wee loophole, and that's the angle that we were taking with it. So the fourth meeting that we had another meeting in Holyrood it wasn't in Holyrood, it was in the Edinburgh University this time. And at that meeting, it was like a planning meeting, basically to work out how it should go in Scotland, because a lot of the response that we were getting from people, we were approaching them and asking them to be involved in it. The response we were getting was that nobody knew where they stood, nobody knew what role they had to play in it. Nobody knew anything really, because nobody was taking ownership of it. Nobody was taking a leadership role in it. It was like a hot piece of coal that nobody wanted burnt with, and that nobody would be brave enough to stand up and say that, okay, let's take this forward. This is how we're going to do this. Everybody's going into uncharted waters. Nobody knows what we were doing. So the Scottish Government have kind of hid behind us. So then when we approached them with this, they started using it's a decision between clinician and patient. We can't step in. Although there are guidelines there, that's up to the clinician to decide. But then you ask the clinician, and the clinician's telling you, no, we are not allowed to prescribe. So they were passing the buck, passing it amongst themselves. But at this meeting in December, we came up with a plan to set up the expert panel. We decided who would have to be involved in it. We decided what conversations would have to be had, how it was all going to be worked out, who would have to be involved in it, and specifically what the role would be in playing this. That was fine. We all agreed on it and we left. And the minute we left, people just backed off. The Scottish Government have backed off again. Police Scotland have backed off again, and are even going as far as saying we didn't agree to that when they did agree to it. But now that it actually comes to doing things, everybody they're getting the fear. It's such a new thing to be doing. They don't want to be the first ones to do it because they're terrified the sky's going to fall in on them. But the sky's not going to fall in on them, and they just need to be brave and do it. So at this meeting, that's what we came away with. The one thing that the police keep telling us that we are pushing for de facto decriminalisation of homegrown cannabis clubs, everything like that. So in Scotland, the laws and the regulations and the guidelines for carrying out the laws and you know, it all comes from the Lord Advocate of Scotland, so he has to be involved in this. And we also have the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Services that decide who gets prosecuted and who doesn't get prosecuted, so they all work together in deciding guidelines, protocols. So they're the people that we were trying to get involved as well, but they wouldn't turn up to the meetings, they wouldn't come. But what we did get them to agree to do was to consider proposals that we make for de facto decriminalisation of homegrown and cannabis clubs, and that's something that's never happened before. They've never even been willing to get into the conversation with it about it before, but now they're waiting on us making proposals for these, and that's going to be part of the experts panel's job that we're setting up. So right now, God, it's I don't even know where to start about what we're trying to do just now. The expert panel, obviously they're making it as difficult for us as possible to get it up and running. They won't supply us with any funding to do it. We've asked about to see if there's any government funding that we could get to do something like this, and we've been told that there's no funds available. And it's going to take, to have something like this up and running for 6 months, it's going to take about £40,000, give or take a couple of pounds or two. So we're now looking at maybe having to start and do all the fundraising ourselves. Now, we've got this far without any money. We've got this far on the bones of our backside. We've refused every offer of financial assistance that we've been offered, and we have been offered on a few occasions financial assistance, but it's from people that want something from us. But we don't want to be bought, we don't want to be owned, we don't want somebody else coming in and deciding how the campaign goes. So it's looking like we're going to have to start doing some fundraising. We've been put in touch with some very, very good people, very, very special people who are prepared to help us with the fundraising in the form of concerts and charity football matches and things like this. But really, that's just another distraction that we don't need. And me, I'm always cynical about these things, and it's just a distraction that they're deliberately putting in their way. We've got this far without money, and I'm pretty sure if we put our minds to it, we can take it all the way without any money. But that would depend on a lot of good people putting in a lot of work for free. So that's what's trying to happen just now. The way we want to set it up, we want to set up the expert panel where we've got one person leading the panel, and that's my friend and colleague, a woman called Anna, and she's a drugs policy expert. She comes with her legal qualifications with honours. She's absolutely fantastic. She knows her stuff. So Anna's going to be heading the panel, and then there's going to be about 9 experts, and they're going to cover the 3 areas: industry, criminal justice, and legal prescription. And these experts are going to look into it, investigate, collaborate, engage with different groups, people that are involved in it. And then obviously there's going to be final reports done. The people that we recruit to be part of the criminal justice side of things are going to be responsible for helping us write the proposals to the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service and the Lord Advocate of Scotland for de facto decriminalisation. So what we need is subgroups to feed in to the expert panel, and these subgroups have already started setting up. We've got a subgroup of cannabis clubs all come together just recently. It's been getting worked on for the past wee while. Obviously, MCRS, the organisation that we've put together, Medicinal Cannabis Reform Scotland, we're not a cannabis club. So we don't know what these people want. There's lots of cannabis clubs functioning illegally in the UK just now, but we don't know what they want. So these people have to tell us what they want. So they have to all come together and decide what they want us to propose for them. We're going to need that. The same thing set up for patients groups who are looking for legal prescriptions. We're going to need the same set up for industry, for people that are, that have set up businesses out of this. All these people have to have an input in it. This isn't just about what Medicinal Cannabis Reform Scotland wants, what I want, or what Lynn wants. This is about everybody in Scotland, and we're trying to cover every area that cannabis has to offer just now. It's went way past it being just a medicine now, where it's come so far. It's getting so open now, it's getting so accepted now, that people have been really, really open-minded to everything, and we have to start showing them everything that cannabis has to offer, not just what it has to offer medicinally, but it could, that way it can heal the world. So
Right.
that's the plan so far.
Well, I was going to ask you about the public outreach that's being done to get the public interested and to get it out into the public arena, being talked about, being discussed, so that people can be informed correctly of what is really truly happening, and then to get support. Here in the U.S., there are several states that have not only legalized the dispensaries for medicinal marijuana, but they also have the growers, and they have formed these co-ops, so to speak. Perhaps we could get you in touch with some of those people so that they could show you how they've gone about getting these things done, suggestions, and some of the pitfalls and things that they've had to overcome to get
that
through
would be amazing. I would love that. Thanks very much. That's really kind of you. We'll take any help we can get, because campaigning for cannabis and cannabis activists, and we've all been doing this for so long now, and we need to start doing things differently, because the same old isn't working. It's we've been doing the same thing, so we need to start thinking outside the box and doing things differently. And I believe here in Scotland, we've got such good people working on it here in Scotland, and different people that need it and want it for different things. You've got the mums with the sick kids, and they're doing a lot of good work just now. They've got the attention of the politicians. Right now, the Scottish Government are doing a big drive because they're trying to get drug policy control devolved from Westminster to Holyrood so that they can decide for themselves, because the Scottish figures for drugs deaths in 2017 came out, and Scotland fared really, really bad for it. We have the highest drug deaths in Europe. So the Scottish Government just now are on a drive to try and sort this out. They say that they're talking about all drugs, but they seem to be missing out cannabis. Cannabis is such a low-level crime, and they know it's not causing any problems, so it's tending to be left out of this a wee bit. But every opportunity we're getting, we're trying to bring cannabis into the conversation. We were invited to give evidence to the Scottish Affairs Committee on 2 occasions last week on problem drug use and how current drug policy affects our life. Now, the one thing that the Scottish Government are pushing just now is for safe consumption facilities for intravenous drug addicts and prescription drug addicts. They're really, really pushing to be able to offer them safe consumption facilities where they have medical assistance if needed. So that's the angle that we're using just now, because they can't, honestly, without blushing, give safe consumption facilities to the intravenous drug users, but they can't give it to people like us when we're actually trying to stop to become that. Because as discussions I've been having recently, a lot of addictions start from a prescription from your doctor, a legal prescription. You go to your doctor with a sore back, an autoimmune disease, something like that, and they hand out these strong opioids like sweeties without even working your way up to, they're not even offering you a paracetamol first anymore. It's straight to these cocodamols. That doesn't work. You're onto the dihydrocodone. That doesn't work. You're onto the tramadol. That doesn't work. Oh, come on, we'll just give you a morphine patch. Straight onto these really, really strong opioids. And you're only meant to be on these drugs for no more than a couple of weeks, but they have you on them for months, sometimes years. So that's where a lot of addictions start from, as a legal prescription from your doctor. Now, for people like myself and like people like Lynn, we're trying to stop that. We're trying to stop us from getting to that stage where we become so addicted to these medications that they're prescribing us that we have to go out to the street and buy heroin, and we become an addict that needs one of these safe consumption facilities through no fault of our own. but through a legal prescription that we were legally given by our doctor. Now, we're trying to stop this. We're trying to stop from getting to that stage. We're trying to stop from becoming addicted to that. So the angle that we're pushing just now is prevention is better than a cure. Give us our safe consumption facilities to help us stop getting to the stage where we need a safe consumption facility to go and inject, where we've become so addicted to these things that you gave us, that you're prescribing to us, that we need that. So right now the Scottish Government, they haven't really got an answer for it. We're waiting to see how they respond to it. We're kind of stalking them and trolling them just now with open letters. They don't seem to be responding very well to it, or at all. But they are on a drive just now, and we have to use this as much as possible. And right now we seem to be getting noticed by their opposition, and Scottish Labour are really pushing the boat out because they have got a lot of wrongs to right. They've let themselves down on this. The response we got from Scottish Labour when we started all of this, it got to the stage we stopped inviting them to things because they just would never turn up. So they know that they've got a lot of rights to wrong, and they're putting on an event in Holyrood for us. It was meant to be on the 12th of June. Now this event is where we get to basically go and lobby politicians from all the parties. Polly McNeill MSP puts it on for us. She invites every politician from all the parties to it, and we present our case to them. We give them all the evidence. So it's a great opportunity for there to be a presentation of not just cannabis as a medicine, but everything cannabis for our cannabis clubs, our industry, textiles, hempcrete. We present them with experts and they sit and listen. And this is a really, really good opportunity. Unfortunately, what's happened is, because it's been such short notice, our good friend and colleague is in hospital just now, very, very sick. And she's our expert, so she's not going to be able to make it. And there's a few other people, because it's been such short notice, their diary isn't fitting in it, so we're going to have to postpone it from the 12th for another few weeks after that. We haven't decided on a date that it's going to be as yet. We'll decide what date that's going to be once we have a discussion with Paul and McNeill MSP. But it will have to be rearranged, but it's going to be a great opportunity for everything cannabis to be represented and presented to these politicians, because these are the ones that get to make these decisions. These are the ones that decide in our lives. And as I pointed out to them the other week there, they've made a society where we have to depend on them for absolutely everything. We have to depend on them and rely on them for our security, our health, our jobs, our finances, everything. They make it so that we have to rely on them, and they even put laws and regulations and acts of parliament in place to make sure that we stick to it. But then it comes to the stage in our life when we need help, and we go to them for help, and it's not there. So we help ourselves, and they make a criminal out of us for doing that. So this has to stop, and this is the best opportunity that we're going to get, is to present to them and show them everything good there is to see about cannabis, that it's not this drug that's been demonised all these years, because everything that they have heard about it up until now has been a barefaced lie, and they now need to start hearing the truth about it. So the event in Parliament is going to be the best opportunity we've ever had so far to let them see everything that's good about cannabis. So it's going to be a bit of work to put it together, but because of a few people's diaries, it's going to have to be postponed for another wee while, but it will happen, and it's going to be a big thing. We're going to make sure that as many MSPs turn up to it as possible from all the parties. We're even going to invite Nicola Sturgeon to it. We don't think for a minute she's going to turn up, but she'll get an invite along with the rest of them as well.
Well, perhaps you could get in touch connect with some of the brilliant minds that have actually done the studies and written papers on the efficacy. Yes. And bring that with you, because a lot of times, if you can give to them the information that they can actually see that has been studied. This is new compared to many other things that have been brought to the public before. The legalization and use of cannabis as a medicine is fairly new to the political system. So there's not a lot of knowledge out there, and like you said, they're dealing with the old propaganda of the reefer madness and things like this. Plus, there is a revenue that has been garnered from the illegal use of marijuana for the states, that they don't want to lose.
We do have, we've got a lot of great drugs experts, drug policy experts in Scotland. We've got experts on it. We've got an absolutely fantastic wee country that is bursting with such talent and knowledge and information. And, I just wish that the reins would get took off from Westminster and they would get to shine. But to do this, Nicola Sturgeon is going to have to find the confidence for somewhere, because so far she's not shown any confidence in this, and we have got the ability to do this. We're now getting told by Nicola Sturgeon that we have to wait on NICE, which is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, coming up with final guidelines. We have to wait on the NHS coming up with final guidelines. When we have the facilities here in Scotland to do it ourselves now, we do have a lot of good drug policy experts, but none so more than Anna Ross from the Scottish Drug Policy Conversation, my friend and my colleague. She's really about the only one that specialises in cannabis. The rest of them, it's barbiturates, heroin, everything, but cannabis seems to be left out because all these experts know it's such a low-level crime. It's non-addictive, it doesn't create the problems in society that a lot of other drugs create. So we're really lucky. We see we're different from any other campaign in the UK, because I keep saying that we've got an Anna and nobody else has got an Anna, because she doesn't just come with her drug policy expertise and qualifications. She's also got a law qualifications with honours, so she comes with that legal expertise as well. So somebody like Anna, they listen to Anna. They're more likely to listen to Anna than they're likely to listen to people like me and Lynn. In the grand scheme of things, who the hell are we? But with Anna, with all these letters after her name, they're more likely to listen to her. But Anna's one of us because she gets it. She's actually in hospital just now, and this is her. She's going off her head in there. She sees herself as now a 100% stakeholder in this, because for the first time she's got to witness what you actually have to endure when you become sick, when you become part of that system, when you're put in there, when you're spoke over the top of on a bed by medical professionals that don't even look you in the eye, that just hand you a cup of medicine or just expect them to allow you to walk up and inject something into your veins without you asking a question about it. She's getting to see all of this now, and she's getting to witness now. So she'll be able to bring that to the table as well, whereas a lot of the other drugs experts, they more specialise in the likes of the heavier drugs, the heavier side of things. So we're very, very lucky to have Anna. But she mingles with them as well. She's on that level. She's on so many different committees. She's got her own drugs policy conversation going on as well. So Anna's like our wee secret weapon, because this is the one thing that we have, and they'll listen to her. So far they've listened to her. We wouldn't have got this far if it wasn't for Anna. And that's the secret weapon that we have over everybody else, is we've got Anna talking to these people for us. And she talks sense. She represents everything. She never twists anything. She doesn't make anything sound any better than what we need it to sound, because she gets it. And we need experts like that. And they're few and far between. But Scotland has the ability to do this, but Nicola Sturgeon just will not dip her toes in the water. She's terrified something's going to bite her. And we're doing everything we can to convince her that nothing's going to bite her. Just do it. Have that leap of faith, because technically it's now a devolved issue, and she's making herself look weak. We're not taking control of this. We're not taking the lead in this. And it's letting her down just now. It really is. It's letting her down just now.
Well, Lynn and Bernadette, I think that you can show that two women who care and who have a purpose in showing people what it can make a difference because of what you have been able to do so far. Everything that has happened it being brought to the attention of the Parliament to be even being discussed is because of your work. Is because you guys decided to step out of the box. You guys decided to push the envelope, and I think that's where it has to come from. And I do believe that the people are standing up more and more. The people are reaching out with a voice more and more. And I think that might be a good place if you can get the people, the populace, the towns and cities, the people who live there, to understand what this plant and other plants, not just cannabis, but other plants that are natural to our environment, how they can promote healing, how they can bring us to a place of healing, true healing. The medical establishment, for whatever reasons that you want to say, the medical establishment has become a for-profit industry. And
Absolutely.
everything they do is based simply on that because of
Yes.
the strong influence of the pharmaceuticals. It has to be changed. That frame of thought has to be changed.
Absolutely, 100%, because right now what we are seeing is we are seeing medicine. There's no such thing as healthcare anymore. It's not healthcare, it's medicine. You go to your doctor, you go to your physician, your nurse with a problem, and the only thing they offer you is pharmaceutical medicines. There's no healthcare involved in it anymore. They don't discuss diet with you, they don't discuss exercise with you, because they don't know anything about it. All they know is medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, synthetic medicine. They don't know anything else.
I don't even think it's medicine, it's drugs.
It's drugs. That's all they see.
Yeah.
That's all they know. They don't know anything else. I mean, I was in a situation where I had sacked all my doctors because I got to the stage where I just get fed up arguing with them. It was, oh God, it was soul destroying. And in my opinion, they didn't have the knowledge that I needed them to have, so there was no point in having them. And it was just causing me more distress every time I had to go to an appointment. I was getting so stressed about going there, and then I would be sitting in the waiting room and I'd be getting so agitated. By the time I got in the room, I was ready to tear his throat out or tear her throat out, or and it would just take for them to say one thing to set me off, and then that would be it. It would be an argument, and because they're not prepared to listen to you, apparently. And a lot of doctors have this superiority complex where, dear God, you will listen to what they say, and you will not have an opinion on it. And if you decide that you want an opinion on it, well, they're the door, because if you don't want their advice, there's no point in you being there, and that's the attitude that you get off of doctors. So that is something that we need to try and change as well. There are some doctors that are very good, but most of the medical professional won't even have a discussion. But anyway, I had sacked all my doctors, and I had switched an old phone on, and out the blue it was ringing to remind me that I had an appointment with my rheumatologist. So by this time, they had rescheduled cannabis. It was now legally available for prescription in the UK. And I thought, for my own entertainment purposes, I was going to go to this appointment and ask the doctor to write me a prescription for cannabis. Because I never got the opportunity to do it when it was rescheduled because I didn't have any doctors. I'd sacked them all. So I went to the doctors, and obviously he knew all about my cannabis use. I had been completely open with it. And he only went and agreed to write me the prescription, but he couldn't do it off his own back. He had to apply for permission to the health board to do it. He had to apply to his clinical director, and then his clinical director applies to the health board. And within 2 weeks, the health board had rejected it. So it's not even down to a decision between patient and clinician, which the government is claiming that that's what's happening. That's not what's happening, because the doctor is getting stopped for doing it. Even when the doctor agrees to prescribe it, the doctor's not allowed to prescribe it.
Yeah,
and again, it's all down to money. It's all down to money, and them saying, no, this drug here, this drug there, this drug there. They don't want to do it because they don't have the knowledge on it. They're getting taught so many lies about it. They're not getting taught properly. I mean, they look at you like with pure shock and amazement still when you broach the subject with them, because they're still not allowed to discuss it with you.
Hey, sorry to talk over you. I was just saying amusement, like you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
They look at you, but you know what about historically, we know that there are many stories about it takes one person or two or just a few to start, going in a different direction, a direction that is beneficial and shifting things and changing things. And people are stuck in their comfort zone about a lot of stuff. This is the way we do it, period. No, this is what we know, period. This is what they told us what to do, period. This is what the book says. This is what the authorities say. So it's sort of like that's where you are in this moment in time, the two of you beautiful women and the powerful, determined and passionate about this, as many people are, and so you're not alone in this, and there are many people who are awakening to suddenly realize that this medical profession and the authorities and what they're doing is maybe more harmful, and that there are naturals, there are alternatives, and there are many stories, still many coming out about people running out of this country here and going to Mexico or Germany for alternative treatments where they're getting, pretty much, literally on the verge of dying here with some of these, especially the chemo, and the lack of support for the immune system and the lack of nutrition, food-wise, just pouring this poison into these people, and they're leaving the country and having amazing results. And these are stories that have been going on for many years, and it continues. So it is an uphill struggle, but eventually that uphill tends to level out.
I heard a comment. Sorry, I heard a comment from a politician last week, and I just totally disagreed. I couldn't actually believe that somebody was still of this frame of mind, and his opinion was that the country isn't ready for this yet. The people of the country are not ready for this. And I'm like, you're a politician and you're meant to know your people, and I'm sorry, but everybody is more than convinced. I don't think there is anybody that's not convinced about this. It's only them that I'm not convinced about this.
It's the leaders, the authorities, yeah. They have a lot. Well, they have the most to lose, you see.
Exactly.
Who is it? Follow the money, they always say, right? If you follow the money, you can see who is it that has the most to lose if these policies change or if something different happens. Take down the old guard. They're the ones who have the most to lose, the money to lose. And so, but historically, you have to look at how people, their passion and their beliefs and the truth to lies that they have fought for eventually take hold, because it's an energy, it's a frequency. You guys are holding a frequency of truth, a frequency of life and beauty and something sacred. This is what you guys are holding, this frequency, and that's what we're all about. We're all about the frequency and energies, and our beliefs are very powerful, and they emanate out from us, and those beliefs are incrementally taking hold and touching people. And so it takes a lot of courage to do what you are doing, and I give you lots of gratitude and kudos for that, and I hope you never ever get discouraged. I hope no one ever has the ability to discourage either one of you.
I don't think we'll ever be discouraged. We get fed up now and again. I mean, we're only human. We're only human.
That's
and
normal. Yeah.
There's only so many banging your head against the brick wall that you can do without it starting to bleed. But here in Scotland, I mean, there's just so many people that are so supportive of this now, and they're all starting to come together, find their voice, have their say, and it's beautiful to watch. It really is. It's lovely. It's really good to watch. But right now, the situation in the UK, what we haven't spoke about today is there's a situation happening in the UK just now where if you have the money, if you find yourself to be lucky enough to be financially more than stable, then you can have access to cannabis medicine as easily as you can have access to paracetamol. Because we find
There
ourselves...
you go.
Yep.
The privilege.
It's happening.
That's the privileged elite.
The privilege, we have a class war.
I'm sure they're doing this all along. They're getting all the good stuff. They're certainly we're not getting any good stuff, but they know. Listen, they are not stupid. These people know what this medicine is. These people know what this plant does.
Of course they do. But it's a pharmaceutical tough war we all kind of find ourselves in the middle of just now, because there's that many people trying to secure their own wee space in the market. But it's really not about the people that are desperate to get their hands on it. It's about the multinational companies and the shares and the profits and this one and that one. And right now, you know, in the UK, we have a Prime Minister. Oh no, she's not Prime Minister anymore.
That's true. Things have changed. See how quick, from 1 minute to the next, how things change, right? You never know what's around the corner.
We don't know who they're getting.
Oh boy, that was, yeah.
It's going to be, you know, somebody like Boris Johnson or something like that.
Yeah.
That's worrying itself. But, you know, when you've got Theresa May and her husband, Theresa May's husband's up to his neck in it with, you know, the company that's got the biggest shares in GW Pharmaceuticals, and then you've got your
there you go.
Victoria Atkins giving a licence to her husband. So basically they've secured they're trying to secure the National Health Service supply, and they're known around the world as the mafia. This is what people refer to the world as the mafia.
Somebody's playing with their mic and it's really bumping.
Not guilty. No, don't blame me. I'm sitting a metre away. I'm sitting a metre away.
I think she's having a little trouble with her mic.
Oh, right. No, so we find ourselves, so when, you know, everybody's competing for the money to get from the National Health Service, because you've got your full private sector just sitting here in the wings ready to scoop in. So it's all about the money to people. It's not about patients, it's not about anything. They have the ways and the means to have it easily accessible in this country, but it's not. Why is it not? Because they're drip feeding it to us at their leisure, when they decide, and the amount that they decide. So, if you have money, if you have plenty of spare money to be able to afford a couple of £1,000 a month, you could get easily access to cannabis medicine in this country, for sure.
Well, you see, you're up against, it's not just the doctors, you're up against a whole industry that is threatened by what you bring to the table. So they're not going to back off easily. And like you said, the shareholders of the pharmaceutical companies, their bottom line is money. They've already tried to synthesize marijuana in trials here in the U.S. and it didn't go well. They had some pretty adverse reactions. So there's and the pushback has to come from the grassroots and from the people, because you're not just fighting one entity, you're fighting the whole cabal, from the political to the pharmaceutical to the medical. And what we're trying to get done here is to change the face of the medical industry from one of symptom cure to back to a more natural and balanced way of healing the body. So you're up against a fight, guys, and kudos to you. You know, this is what I think is so brilliant about what you've been able to do. You're two people, you're two women, and you're standing up against some of the most powerful forces that are out there, and you're frightening them, and you're making headway. And We just need to get the support behind you. The people need to stand up and start saying that we want real health. You know, it's not like you're attacking them because they represent something that you don't believe in, which is true, but you're not attacking them because of that. You are trying to promote health. That's all. That's your bottom line, you know, and it's gonna be a rough road, but I think you're gonna get it done.
Absolutely. I think we're definitely on the right track. I don't think we've ever got this far before. It's a hard one because, you know, there's so much to cannabis, not just for the medicine side of it, and there's so much that it could do for Scotland. And Scotland's at the stage now where, you know, we've just had the latest European elections, and the Scottish National Party cleared out in the European elections, and, you know, the support for independence.
Yes.
It's getting stronger and stronger every single day. And I do believe that when we get our independence, that Scotland will be ready to be innovative, progressive, everything. So, you know, cannabis right now, I still believe there is so much more that our government could be doing. Meanwhile, but I do believe that when we get our independence, because I truly believe in my heart that Scotland are going to get our independence, we can't continue to put up with this, what's going on in this country any longer. We need to start taking decisions into our own hands, and this has to be a decision for the people of Scotland to make. This is for us to decide how we want this to go. And this is why we're putting it out to, this is not for MCRS to be lording it over everybody and saying this is how we're going to do things, and this is the programme that we're presenting, because everybody's got their own idea of a model and how things should work in Scotland. Everybody's got their idea, the rules, regulations, models, laws, everybody's got their own different opinion on it. But here in Scotland, this has to come from the people of Scotland. We can't have people outside Scotland that don't know anything about our country, that have probably never been in our country before, that don't know our laws, because we have different law from the UK law. We've got our own Scottish law, we've got our own, our court systems are different, everything's different. So this has to be decided upon by the people of Scotland. And the people of Scotland, I reckon, in my opinion, are ready to come together and make that decision, and it's already started to happen. We've been seeing it for weeks now, haven't we, Lynn?
Yeah,
the guys that are in the cannabis clubs, they're doing absolutely, they've been so helpful. This isn't going to be anything that we're going to be running or having anything to do with. We're just liaising it, coordinating it, whatever you want to call it, but this has to be a decision that the cannabis clubs come together and decide what they want to put in these proposals. What do they want for their cannabis club? What do they want to be able to do? Who do they want to be able to help? They have to put their own proposals forward. That has to come from them. That can't be anything that we decide. And it's the same with the different patients groups. We'll be part of the patients groups. There'll be loads of other different patients groups, and everybody will have a different opinion. All the opinions have to be considered and looked at. Then we have the industry side of things, and that'll have to happen with that as well. Everybody will have a different opinion on it. But again, it will take for the people of Scotland to come together and decide for ourselves. The days of us being dictated to by people that know nothing about us, nothing about our country, and have never even been here before, they're over. Scotland are speaking up and standing up for ourselves now.
Yeah.
So this is just another area where we can show how good we can be at this. Because we're already halfway there. It's already happening in Scotland. It's just not happening legally, but it's already happening there. And we have the ability to do it. And the people of Scotland are starting to come together and realise that, you know, if they all come together and shout at one time, it's a louder voice. And that's the Scottish way. It's the Scottish way. We help one another. We look out for one another.
Yeah.
So
we do.
Well, I just posted a link to your Skype chat, Bernadette. It's the Home Cannabis Medical Network, and there are actually links that you can talk to doctors and possibly they would be very interested in following up with you on
That was
documentation and stuff.
fantastic. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, and we've got about 15 minutes left, and so I want to give you two a chance to, if there's any contact information you want to give out, websites, meetups in Scotland, or any other things that you'd like to let the listeners know about. And this will be going up on YouTube. And I have to say, our previous shows with you guys have massive views. So it's going to get out to a lot of people. So go ahead and if there's anything really important that you need to get out there that we didn't talk about, please do so now.
Well, everything can be found on our Facebook page. We have the Medicinal Cannabis Reform Scotland Facebook page. We're not very good at social media, as you've probably seen at the start of the show. We couldn't even get on the phone line to you. So, we try to keep things simple, and we've got big help from Mark Perry. He helps run the Facebook page for us, so you can get in touch with us through that as well. If you go into the Facebook page, our email address where you can contact us by email, that's on it too. Up and coming, all it's going to be is about setting up the expert panel, and if there's been a couple of people asked us if we plan on setting up the fundraising anytime soon. That's not anything that we've made any final decisions on, because obviously, as we've said, it's not something that we want to do. We don't like asking people for money. Money's tight for everybody these days. But if we have to do it, we have to do it. But right now, we're going to see if there's other ways that we can get our hands on any funding to get this up and running. But if there is any fundraising events, then it will all be posted up on the MCRS Facebook page.
Okay, wonderful. And I think Barb was having a little bit of trouble. Are you on yet, Barb? Are you back?
I thought she had cut back for a minute, but she must have disappeared again.
Yeah, I think she's having a little bit of trouble with her mic. Do you want to drop and then add yourself back into the call? There's something. Are you there, sis? It looks like she's having a little bit of difficulty. If you can hear me, might want to drop off the call and then come right back. See if that might cure it. Sometimes that does that for us. Okay, she might be back in a minute. Just
put up a message saying, "Don't think you can hear me, sis."
Yeah, I wrote back to her and said, "No, we haven't heard her while we're here." Is she back with us? Can we hear her now?
No.
There's. I wonder what is wrong. Keep working on it, sis. And in the meantime, Lynn, you are okay. Yeah, you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Are you talking?
Oh, right.
Oh, that's you, Lynn. I thought that was Barbara there.
No, sorry, I was just reading the message. Right.
Well, this technology is just confusing, isn't it?
I love you too, Bab.
It's the gremlins, they're back.
Is that Bernie and I?
No, I think they joined us last time we were on, though, right?
Probably.
But Lynn, you've got the in August, you said, right?
Yes.
Next. So I'm hoping that maybe by September we can have another get together and another progress report.
Yes.
And by that time, Bernie will have a little bit more information from us, and she can possibly. I think that link that I gave you, Bernie, might be pretty good because there are doctors that you can actually contact on this.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. That's really kind. I'll get on to that right away.
Yes. So what are you two ladies up to in the interim between now and August? Anything?
I've got a holiday planned. I'm going to Sorrento in Italy. In July. That's it. That's all my plans I can remember.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm moving
Wonderful.
house in 2 weeks. Oh,
You're
I'm just
moving?
moving house, yes, 2 weeks time. So that's adding to the stress of everything just now, and my health's kind of a bit dodgy just now as well. It's kind of up and down just with all the stress of everything. So once I get moved into my new house and settled, then we can really start the work.
That's it.
Well, I would say I wish you guys luck, but I don't have to do that because I don't think luck is involved. You two have decided on a mission and you've put everything you've got into it, and it's paying off. Two very, very strong and beautiful women. Much respect for you guys and as much support as we can give. And as everybody's heard, they have a Facebook page. Please go there and give your support. If there's any information, any anecdotal information that you can give them about how cannabis has made a difference in your life, that would be possibly good too. And if you need any information, that would also be a good thing.
Yeah.
You can just put messages straight through the page, and the messages are answered quite quickly between either myself, Mark, or Lynn.
Okay. And I don't think Barb is going to be able to talk.
Back again.
Yeah.
She's back.
She's okay? Are you there yet, sis? Can you talk yet? That's a shame. Dang it. Dang it, dang it. But anyway, ladies, we sure do. Oh, please read message above. Okay. Anyway, I think this is from Barb. I think Creator put you on this path for sure. So both of you are blessed. Oh, that wasn't the message. Okay. Okay, here it is. It says message.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. We sound like a bunch of crazy women here.
Okay. All right. I think this is it. I'm not sure, but I think this might be it. Is it copper, gold, silver, and iron metals in Ayurvedic medicine play a vital role in maintaining well-being? When they come into contact with human tissue, their electromagnetic energy affects the body at cellular level.
Wow.
They project an astral light which counteracts unwanted cosmic energy.
Ah,
So that is interesting.
that is.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So much that we never understand, isn't there?
So if you scroll down, I read the right. I wasn't supposed to read that. The message was the Creator put them both on this path, so they are blessed. See, sis, that's why you should always have your mic working. Oh shoot. Anyway, that's a good way to end the show, though, in laughter, because when it comes down to it, laughter is essential.
Oh, yes.
Healing,
Yeah.
you know, and you girls, you always get us laughing. That's one thing I love about you guys. Everything you've been through, the fight you've had to fight, and you stand up and you laugh it all away. The best medicine.
It's the best medicine.
Absolutely. Can we just wish our Anna lying in the hospital bed just now a quick recovery as well? She's really, really poorly just now, and she's a really good friend and colleague, and just we can wish her all the very best for MCRS. And
Yeah.
We sure will.
we need to out of that bloody place so we can get proper medicine into her.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so, yes, and I guess Rick isn't feeling too well.
Is he still unwell?
Yeah. He was doing better, and then I guess he had a relapse or anything, so we're wishing him well, too.
Yeah.
So. Oh, we have a question coming here. It says, Can you get Bernie to explain the difference between? Well, we did that at the beginning of the show. Gaz,
Oh,
the difference
yeah.
between CBD and hemp oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the oil that Lynn takes is a high concentration THC oil. THC, CBD are just two cannabinoids out of, depending who you ask, some will tell you there's 80 cannabinoids, some will tell you there's 100 cannabinoids, some people tell you there are 140 cannabinoids, but it's just two cannabinoids. THC is the one that Lynn needs to deal with brain cancer, and there's a lot of hemp CBD getting sold in shops and that just now. Very, very medicinal. CBD is another very medicinal property. It can induce apoptosis just like THC, but for Lynn's cancer, she has to use the full extract cannabis oil, and it's a high concentration of THC. There is a wee bit of CBD in with it, but it's mainly, predominantly, high THC cannabis oil and not the CBD hemp oil.
Oh, so Gaz points out that yes, I heard Lynn saying Bernie would be better explaining that. You are absolutely right, and I was absolutely wrong. Get around to that. I'm so good at this. I haven't been doing this for more than 15 years.
The hemp CBD, that you know how all these CBD shops that are popping up all over the place just now, the CBD that's getting sold legally in the country, it's a fantastic food supplement. That's what it's being sold as, a food supplement. A lot of people are benefiting from it. You know, people with arthritis and things like that. And it's a wonderful, absolutely fantastic cannabinoid. But it's an isolate. There are some products that are sold with whole plant hemp, and it's the CBD, CBDA, CBD, CBG, things like that. But there's no THC in it because that's the part that's illegal. So really, what you need is whole plant, including THC. I mean, the CBD on its own is fantastic, but it's just one cannabinoid, and the rest of the cannabinoids, it kicks in what's called the whole plant entourage, and it works so much better. On its own, fantastic, but if you do have the rest of the cannabinoids in beside it, it just works so much better.
Right. Well, I can attest that there is active THC in CBD oil.
Depending on what CBD oil you get, because it's not one size fits oil. The people, you can have CBD oil in different ratios. You can have just pure CBD oil. You can have CBD with 1% THC in it. Pure CBD, the isolated stuff, is just CBD on it. But if you're doing...
Mine comes from a dispensary, medicinal.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. I'm not sure because I don't have the eyes to actually read.
This is why we need legislation, because people don't have a choice of what they've got just now. It's a take it or leave it situation a lot of people are in. But if we have the choice to have dispensaries, then we can decide what's in our cannabis oil. We can decide if it's all THC, we can decide if it's all CBD, we can decide if it's a 1-1 combination of both CBD and THC. We can decide that, we can choose that, we can decide what's best for us. But right now, some people, it's so hard to get a hold of. People are just taking what they can. And because CBD is only legal just now, the THC isn't. People are having to settle for CBD on its own when they shouldn't be having to just settle for that. They should be allowed the whole plant.
You're absolutely right. And in vitalistic herbology, that's one thing, and it's what I first, when I first went to school for it, was with the whole plant, because no one compound stands on its own. They're supported by sometimes up to 5 to 800 to 1,000 or more different compounds in a plant that support the whole.
One wee bit of that plant out, one wee tiny bit of that plant out, all the goodness that's in that whole plant, they're removing one wee compound and saying, there you go, that's your medicine. What with the rest of the plant?
Right.
It's a shame.
It's the pharmaceutical company, though. Isn't
Yes.
that what they do?
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll take a compound, one compound, they'll synthesize that compound, strengthen it to ridiculous strength, and then put it in buffers, because it is so strong that it would cause harm to the body. And when they take it out of that plant, they've already adulterated it and produced something that is non-healing.
It's the damage that's done to it as well when they're extracting it. Now they say, it's so many % proof and and then they'll say with added terpenes and flavonoids. Right, well, they have to add the terpenes and flavonoids because that's all been lost in the process of extracting this one cannabinoid and making sure that it's isolated, and it totally destroys it, just interferes with nature. That's not the way Mother Nature intended it to be. She didn't intend that to be mechanically or chemically extracted. But they all work together for a reason. They all come together in a lovely wee bud and a beautiful plant for a reason. Don't try and mess with it. Don't mess with Mother Nature. Just let her do her job.
That's right. And, we're just like nature. If we look at ourselves, there's nothing inside us that is useless. And if you were to take one thing out of us, it would definitely have a detrimental effect on the whole.
I mean, we've got this in this country just now, parents of children getting told that, they have to keep the doses, the doses of the medicine that these kids are getting. I mean, sometimes it's not even enough to get a goldfish stoned. And, it's the fear, it's the misinformation, the uneducation, the wrong education. It's just, oh God. It's still a long road. It's a very, very long road. Because we're looking at having to re-educate the whole National Health Service system here for the ground up, not just doctors, all the medical professionals, nurses, clinical support workers, physiotherapists, dietitians. They all need to know about it. So it's not anything that's going to happen overnight. This has to be, it's something that's going to have to evolve over many years. But we're on the right track. We're absolutely on the right track. But
we're getting there.
We're getting there, but it's just not anything that's going to happen overnight. Until people stop having a fear of this medicine, then, it's sometimes it's like banging your head off a brick wall. But as you said earlier on, it's what people know. They're so institutionalised and brainwashed into thinking that the doctor knows best, and they look for that white coat and they look for that prescription pad because it's so ingrained in them that we have to rely on that. That's what you go for. That anything else, it can be quite hard for them to accept.
Yep. Yeah. And here's the thing, is that we are changing things. And you are changing things. A little slowly at first, but there'll come a point, I do truly believe, especially if the health industry continues on the road that it's on, more and more people will be forced to find alternatives to healing, because we are fast becoming sicker. We are the sickest societies that have ever existed, and supposedly we have the best of medical technologies and treatments.
Let us have what we need. Give us what we need and the amount that we need. Don't drip feed it to us at your leisure. They're keeping it from us, and then they're saying, right, okay, we'll give you a wee bit of it. We don't need a wee bit of it. We need more. We need as much as our body needs.
Yeah. And ladies, we are at the top of the hour, and we have the Love Bubble coming up with Lizzie.
Well, we can't interview with the Love Bubble.
Oh, it's a wonderful show. You come away from Lizzie's show feeling as if you're floating, as if all the angst and nothing but love exists. I mean, it's a brilliant show. Are you guys on People for People?
We're going to need to send her to the Scottish Parliament one of these days to put a wee bit of Love Bubble in there.
She'll send you one. She will definitely send you one. But it's been a wonderful show, and as soon as you guys want to come back, I know we had a little bit of trouble lining things up because it's been pretty hectic the last three weeks and stuff, but you guys, as soon as you want to come back, let us know. And, yes. We love you.
Thanks so much for having us again.
Yep. Thanks from the people for people. Thanks from the people from People for People. That's out of the chat for you guys, and a lot of love and kudos to you.
Thank you.
Guys. Yep. And we will see you guys. Let's
Soon.
see. Yeah, soon. Very soon.
Very soon. Definitely.
Okay. Love Bubble coming up, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the other side.